Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're continuing our study entitled Kings and Emperors. And today we're going to talk about Herod Agrippa I, who was a grandson of Herod the Great, who was the brother of Herodias and therefore the brother-in-law of Herod Antipas, who killed John the Baptist. You can't keep all the Herod. I can't keep. Nobody can keep all the Herod traits. You need a chart, but we can remember the ones in the Bible. And he really does play an enormous role in Roman history, and plays a fairly large role in the Bible as well. So let's talk about the role he plays in Roman history. He was raised in Rome, um, and as we mentioned last time, he probably falsely, but he accused, after the death of Tiberius, he accused his brother-in-law and uncle, Herod Antipas, of plotting treason against the new emperor Caligula. And so that got Herod Antipas banished, and he disappears from history. Herod Agrippa I then became someone someone valued by Caligula, and he was raised in Rome. He spent a whole lot of his time in Rome. Agrippa I did. He was known in the highest circles. He was an important person, and as well connected as any Herod ever was in the city of Rome. And he played an important role when Caligula was assassinated by the Praetorian Guard, which happened around the event of some gladiatorial games taking place. We're not going to go into what a terrible ruler Caligula was, what a terrible man he was, although he was quite popular with the people. Um, but but inside the walls of Rome, especially among the homes of anyone associated with the government or the administration of government, he was quite despised, and he seems to be absolutely insane and unhinged. Maybe because of lead poisoning, I don't know. He was also raised on the frontier by the army. Caligula isn't really his name, that's his nickname. It means little boot, which is the name he was given by the soldiers when he was a little boy. And he was allowed to go around kicking people in the shins and being cruel to children and other children, pets, and old people. And they just thought it was all cute. Well, you can imagine what kind of a guy he grew up to be. Anyway, when the Praetorian Guard, who were his secret service, when the Praetorian Guard had enough of him and had decided to assassinate him at these games, um, he knew he was not popular. He with his own security force, but he had a group of troops that outnumbered them, that was battle hardened, that they were loyal to him, and for good reason. He paid them extra. He celebrated them. He would go live with them and party with them, and they loved him. And it was his Germanic troops, his Germanic battalion. So these are men who were of Germanic descent, who had been captured from the Germanic tribes, but not executed, but trained to fight in the Roman army. And there were a lot of these, and they were highly prized as warriors. And so they were loyal to him. So evidently, when Caligula was assassinated by the Praetorian Guard, a large contingent of the Germanic troops got wind of it and were coming to rescue Caligula. And it was Agrippa I who knew what was happening and who pointed them in the wrong direction. And by the time they got their bearings and realized they had been misdirected, the Praetorian Guard had already assassinated Caligula, and the coup had already happened, and set game and match, game set and match. It was done. So he played an enormous role in the history of Rome. This is how we know him from the New Testament, other than being the parent, the father of Bernice, Drusilla, and King Agrippa II, whom we'll talk about tomorrow. But this is where we know him from in the New Testament. Now, about that time, Herod the king, and he did carry that title, about that time, Herod the king laid hands on some who belonged to the church in order to mistreat them. And he had James, the brother of John, put to death with the sword. And when he saw that it pleased the Jews, he proceeded to arrest Peter also. And it was during the days of unleavened bread, the days of the Passover. And when he had seized him, he put him in prison, delivering him to 4 squads of soldiers to guard him, intending after the Passover to bring him out before the people. So Peter was kept in prison, but prayer for him was being fervently made. And so the person who executed James, killed James, and was going to kill Peter is Agrippa the First. And of course, we know how the Lord rescued Peter. And we also know about Herod's death, how because of his hubris and how he accepted the people of Tyre and Sidon calling him God, that God gave him a worm. The Lord struck him because he did not give glory to God, and he was eaten of worms and died. And that's exactly what history tells us, that he died exactly that way, of intestinal worms, and that he was tortured in his death for days before he finally succumbed to this infection. Well, isn't that pleasant? Next time we're together, we'll talk about his son, a much better man, King Agrippa II. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word.